Welcome! My name is Debbie and this is Pouring My Art Out for the Lord, and I'm starting a new little series on YouTube and I'm going to call it Quick Neutral Mass Makes. I should write that down so I don't forget how to say it every time, but I'm working on a journal called Ponder the Word. This is part of my Inspired Junk Journalers group, and it's all kind of neutral pages in here. So I thought I would do some mass makes for this, but also for anybody to do with anything, for any kind of journal. So I'm gonna make, I don't know, maybe one a week for a couple of months. I'm not sure exactly how I'm gonna do it yet, but my first one is going to be this tall pocket. And most of these things that I'm going to be showing, I was inspired by someone. It might have been inspired and changed and inspired and changed. But I'll try to link back to, or at least refer back to, where I got the idea. And this particular one, I watched a video by Wendy's Journal Adventures from quite a few years ago, 3-4 years ago. And she was making these. So I got this idea, changed it a little bit, did a little bit different, but that's where I got the idea. So it's a tall pocket. I'm going to glue it right down to the page so I'm not covering the whole back. And I have a tag in there. And I'm going to show you how I make them. So super quick and simple. I'm going to try to make these videos 10 to 15 minutes. So we'll see how I do. So first you need a junk journal envelope. And if you're making a taller journal, you might want it a little bit higher, but I'm going to make mine, I think 6 inches is what I decided. Nope, 5.5 inches. So I'm going to cut my envelope down to 5.5 inches on the open side here. And then I'm going to cut it in half. These envelopes should be 4 inches, maybe just slightly above 4 inches. So I'm just going to cut it into 2-inch pieces like that. If you want to make them taller, of course, you make them taller. So it's got, this side is open and this side is closed down here. So then I'm just going to cover that. And I've got pages in my Ponder the Word, so I can use those, but I also have lots of old scrapbook paper, so I thought I would start using a little bit of this. So this one is called Paris Nights by GCD Studios. I've just had it forever. But it's got some kind of interesting neutral pages. There's a kind of an advertisement one in black. It's got this on the background. It's got some other random pages here too, but there's this one. That one is quite nice. In fact, maybe I'll just use that one this time. I like the back of this one here. This was a different one that was in the same paper pad. But I'm going to make a few and then I'll just have them available. So what I'm going to do is cut a strip off of this 12 by 12. And one strip will make 2 pockets, and I'm going to make it 3 inches wide. So 3 inches, and then I'm going to cut it down to 5.5. And I'll just cut another 5.5 while I'm at it. For my second pocket, this is just a scrap. Okay, so then we're going to wrap this around here. So I'm just going to glue on the front of my envelope piece here. And I'm going to center my scrap paper just on the front like that. I even turn it over so I can get it good and centered. It doesn't have to be centered, but I mean, it needs to be lined up at the bottom and the top and kind of centered. And then I'm just going to fold back the edges here. Because I'm going to glue this onto my page, I don't need to cover the back at all. So I'm just going to put a little bit of liquid glue to hold those in place. Again, it will be glued down eventually into the book, so it doesn't have to be over glued. I'm using a glue that takes a minute to kind of set, so. Okay, and then I'm just going to take my 1-inch hole punch and I'm going to stick it into this pocket. This is a nice narrow one that fits into the pocket, and just roughly halfway, I don't know exactly where halfway is on this one, and just make a little divot there. And then I'm just going to take a bit of ink and ink in that divot, a little bit on the edges. I'm not going to do too much decorating in this series because I just want these kind of to be sort of on hand to use, and I do want this to be a really quick series, quick video. So there's my pocket, and then I'm going to take a piece of scrapbook paper that I don't care too much about. This side is not terrible, but look at this side. I can't imagine anyone ever wanting to use that for anything. But, okay, and then I'm going to make it 1 3/4 inches wide. A strip 1 3/4 inches wide. And I'm going to cross cut that into 6 inches, and this is going to make 2 tags. So I'm going to grab my Bible, which is what I'm going to cover my cardstock with. And I'm just going to glue 2 pages together here first, like that. And take those 2 pages out. And I'm just going to get my cutter again. So these book pages, I glued the 2 pages together like I told you, but I left the margins on here and I cut it down to 6 inches. I cut a little bit off the top and I cut it up to 6 inches. If your tags are different size, obviously you don't want them 6 inches, you want it whatever size your tag is. And my tags are 1 3/4 inches wide, and this method, this book page would have to be at least 3 times the width of the bookmark. But it worked really well for me, so I just thought I would show you. So I put glue on all that that side, and I just line this up right at the end here and press that on, and then I pull this over and just press that down tight, and then I turn it over and I press this over again tight, like that. Then I just trim off, in my case I just have a little bit of an excess here. And then I just take my brayer, and it's completely covered edge to edge. When I sew on this, it'll catch all of those edges. You know, as you're doing, I just roughly glued the papers together and stuff, so I like to sew it afterwards, and then it will be good. And then I want to make a tab for the top. I'm just going to grab this is an old time card. You can use any kind of scrap. This one was just a coffee dyed time card. Thought that might be kind of interesting for the top. And fold that in half. And I am going to sew this on as well, but I'm just going to glue it to get it on there. You can also use a piece of fabric or lace, or you know, anything that you like to use for tabs. And then I'm just going to go sew around the edges here and ink the edges, and then I'll show you what that looks like, but that fits into my pocket just like that. And that will sit on the side of my page like that. So if you want, I think what I might do on some of my tags is to gesso the book page so that I can write on the book page. So maybe I'll do that to a couple and show you at the end what those look like. So I'll be right back. Okay, I decided to make a dozen of these tall pockets with tags in them. They get addicting once you kind of start going. And I just put a little label on from my Labels Galore kit on each of them, just to kind of keep them neutral based. So they each have one label from my Labels Galore, and then on the tags I sewed around the edge. Well, I gessoed them first on both sides, and I sewed around the edges and then inked around the edges. So I think that makes it a nice neutral tag. You can write on it, a nice neutral decoration there. So those are my final tags. I just stuck a couple of clusters on top just to show you a different option, and I'll show you those in the end here. And blessings. We'll see you next week for another quick mass make.